This morning, local leaders reacting to the Democrats that are holding out in Washington to prevent a vote from happening.
Plus, immigrant detainees now getting their COVID shots. The reason behind the vaccinations next.
Plus, Cecily Aguilar indicted on 11 new counts. It's July 14th, 2021. Good Morning Texas starts now. Right now, the special session is in limbo and the state Senate is business as usual. Good morning, I'm Joey Horta.
And I'm Paige Ellenberger. Turmoil continues to grow as Republican lawmakers in the House voted to arrest their Democratic counterparts who took off to Washington, D.C. KRHD News reporter Rebecca Espaillat spoke to a local lawmaker about the battle making national headlines.
Texas Democrats in the House are so determined to stop a voting bill which they say suppresses voter rights, they went straight to the nation's capital to fight it. Republicans, meanwhile, say the Democrats are turning their backs on Texans. Tuesday was meant to be a day filled with House of Representatives voting on a variety of bills in Austin, but that plan was derailed when more than 50 of the Democratic representatives were missing.
It was pretty disappointing that our colleagues would walk out on the citizens of Texas and not allow us to conduct our business.
The Democratic representatives left for Washington, D.C. Monday after opposing legislation that would ban drive-through and 24-hour voting options and further restrict voting by mail.
The bills, as written, makes it harder for Texans to vote and easier for partisan poll watchers to harass and intimidate voters.
The Texas Democrats are also demanding federal legislation to prevent bills like this from moving forward.
We are always going to push back against these sort of bigoted, racist, Jim Crow 2.0 style voting laws whenever you decide to bring them up.
In a 76-4 vote, representatives back in Austin voted to authorize the arrests of the Democrats who took off for D.C. Lemon said opposing the bill did not warrant Democrats neglecting other bills on the table.
Let's make sure we put our heads together and solve the problem for the citizens of Texas. And you don't do that by walking out on your duty.
Now, it's worth noting that not every Texas House Democrat left the state. The Texas Tribune says Representatives Ryan Guillen of Rio Grande City, Tracy King of Batesville, Eddie Morales Jr. of Eagle Pass, and John Turner of Dallas stayed behind. Representative Morales told the Tribune that he supports his Democratic colleagues, but felt his constituents expected him to stay behind. Meanwhile, arrest warrants are out today for the House Democrats who didn't report to the Capitol without a legitimate excuse.
Members, the sergeants at arms and any officers appointed by him are directed to send for all absentees whose attendance is not excused for the purpose of securing and maintaining their attendance, under warrant of arrest if necessary.
Vice President Kamala Harris backing their move, which denies Governor Abbott a quorum in this special session to pass a measure which critics say will limit voting. Also happening on Capitol Hill, Senate Democrats have reached a deal on a $3.5 trillion budget package that's in addition to the existing $600 million bipartisan effort that focuses on infrastructure projects. The sweeping new Democratic proposal would be more of a human-focused infrastructure plan, including expanding Medicare benefits, child care, adding vision and dental care, and assessing climate change. Together, both plans total about $4.1 trillion. And abortion rights groups filed a lawsuit to block a Texas law allowing citizens to enforce the state's so-called heartbeat ban. Part of the ban allows private citizens to sue individuals thought to have assisted in violating the law. In some cases, citizens can get up to $10,000 for enforcing the law. Plaintiffs say the law places a bounty on people who provide or aid abortions, inviting random strangers to sue them.
The Department of Homeland Security is now giving COVID-19 vaccinations to immigrant detainees. Tuesday, Immigration and Customs Enforcement said it's ramping up its vaccinations at detention facilities. The agency says Homeland Security received an initial allocation of 10,000 Johnson & Johnson vaccine doses, and nationwide distribution is underway. ICE detention facilities have been dealing with a growing number of positive cases throughout the pandemic, with nearly 20,000 confirmed cases and 9 deaths. The move to vaccinate detainees comes after 3 whistleblowers urged the Biden administration to do more to vaccinate immigrants who are in custody. The American Civil Liberties Union had similarly called ICE's vaccine strategy for detainees a failure.
A federal grand jury has indicted Cecily Aguilar on 11 new counts in the cover-up of the death of Army Specialist Vanessa Guillen. Aguilar charged with concealing Guillen's body to avoid prosecution. The Army's criminal investigation team says the Fort Hood soldier was bludgeoned to death by Specialist Aaron Robinson. He then killed himself after being confronted by police. The implication from the grand jury is that Aguilar was Robinson's accomplice in Guillen's disappearance in April of 2020. On Tuesday, Vanessa Guillen's family met with Army leaders in Houston to discuss the investigation. Both the family attorney, and Representative Sylvia Garcia saying justice still has not been served because no one has been removed from the Army in the wake of this investigation.
Justice for Vanessa would be getting rid of those people who harmed her, who harassed her, who assaulted her. Those persons are still in the Army, and that's not acceptable.
The administrative investigation is closed now, but the criminal investigation is still ongoing.
In more news this morning, the city of College Station proposed its annual budget that saw a 13% increase this year. Now, one thing residents are relieved about is not seeing an increase in utility rates.
KRHD News reporter Brittany DeFran explains why the increase was considered in the first place. Good morning, Brittany.
Good morning, Joey and Paige. Due to the ERCOT mishap during the winter storm, the city of College Station was faced with a hefty bill. But with this proposal, they hope to save residents from any more hardship. Here in the Lone Star State, not only was the pandemic causing setbacks, but so did February's winter storm. The city utilized reserve funds to cover costs and relieve residents. The city of College Station had to pay over $45 million for power overcharges.
It's one disaster on top of another, and everybody in the community, we live here too, and everybody in the community is already having to deal with so much.
That'll help me a lot, honestly. I think that at this point I couldn't take any more of a raise of utilities, or I couldn't take a raise of anything more. So I think that'll end up helping my situation of trying to move forward and find a new job.
The $353.7 million proposed budget plan will go towards infrastructure, public safety, and recovering from financial setbacks due to the pandemic and winter storm. In Bryan, Brittany DeFran, KRHD News.
All right, thanks a lot, Brittany. And Josh John's here now with a look at our forecast, and it sounds like we're going to need to be using that power to keep our homes cool, huh?
Yeah, we're still dealing with those temperatures that are in the mid-90s out there today, but still not where they should be for July standards. It's still going to feel hot, still going to feel humid. You'll still have to use that AC. And you may still get a shower or two as we go into the afternoon. About 20% chance of seeing some of those sea breeze showers. Southeast winds at about 8 miles per hour. Radar's quiet this morning. Good news there. No issues for your morning commute. High pressure starting to build back in across the Lone Star State. That means that we're going to be seeing those warmer afternoons. We're going to be seeing more quiet afternoons, at least as we go through the weekend. 69 in Bryan this morning, 72 in College Station. Winds are on the calm side right now, but they'll flip around the southeast later on today. That'll bring in that potential for, again, a stray shower or two with the arrival of the sea breeze. That can bring some heavy rain, some gusty winds, and some lightning, but overall doesn't really bring a very widespread rain chance, just isolated. Same going into tomorrow evening, and we'll continue that pattern going on into Friday as well. We'll stay dry for the most part for the weekend. As you look at extended future track, you'll notice that high pressure starting to build in, the things starting to clear out. But watch what happens later on next week. We're going to be tracking a cold front that'll actually be pushing to the south as we go into Monday and Tuesday, and that'll bring us a slight cool down and also bring back those rain chances, and we'll knock our temperatures back down below normal. Highs today, though, they near the upper 80s and lower 90s out there. Normally should be around 95 this time of year. We'll be calling for about 91 degrees. And then tonight dipping down into the lower 70s as you look at that 10-day forecast. 91 for your Wednesday. Same on Thursday. We'll increase the rain chance for Friday. A 30% chance of rain on Friday, a high of 90. For the weekend, we'll keep small rain chances in. These are just going to be of that same little isolated variety. 93 Sunday, 94 on Monday. More rain chances sneaking in for next week, though, bringing back the cool front that's going to knock us back down into the low 90s, maybe even the upper 80s there on Thursday.
At a time when wildfires in the United States are at their worst, there are fewer firefighters to try and stop them in their tracks. The number of hotshot crews, the teams who go to the front lines of wildfires in our country, are dwindling as many parts of the country experience unprecedented heat and drought. If we peel back the curtain in an effort to be completely transparent,
as far as we go to the federal firefighters, we got a problem.
Chuck Shealy was the only person who agreed to do an interview with us for this story. We'll let him tell you why.
I tell you, everybody is terrified nowadays to speak to the press. That's probably the reason you can't get any smoke jumper to talk to you, because they have to go through the public information officer.
A man who enveloped himself in a curtain of smoke for 34 years cutting fire lines. He now works as the vice president of the National Smoke Jumper Association in an effort to peel back the curtain on why fewer men and women, many of them young, are joining his former profession.
It's tough to hire people now because you could go to the local McDonald's and make $15 an hour, or you could jump out of an airplane and make $15 an hour plus a little overtime.
According to Chuck, the wage gap between federal hotshots, many of whom are employed by the U.S. Forest Service, and private entities is massive. In an email, the U.S. Forest Service told us the pay for federal hotshots is about half of what it is at the state level. A CNN analysis of the pay structure digs deeper, showing that discrepancy in California, our country's most prone state to wildfires, is in the range of $38,000 per year.
3 years ago or 4 years ago, I was at a meeting and the head of the smoke jumpers was there, and he said that we're 45 positions short this year. And I said, why? He gave me a list of 13 reasons why.
Lack of competitive wage, lack of recruiting, location, they were all on there as wildfires are only intensifying in size and damage.
Who at 18, 19, 20 years old can afford at these wages? In other words, we've lost the local hiring ability. And this is a screwed up situation in my estimation.
With the national preparedness level for wildfires currently at a 4, one stage below its highest level, the problem is developing into what Chuck would describe as a crisis.
You got to get off your butt and you got to go out and get people. You can't sit and wait for them to come to you. Otherwise, you're not going to have a team.
With the peak wildfire months of July and August just getting underway, I'm Dan Grossman.